Hello, everyone. I am 13, and we are playing some shenanigans tonight. So I'm calling this Blue-White Time Cop. Basically, we've got Lavinia making sure people do things in correct time, Teferi making sure we do things in correct time, a couple of ways to force them off their time, and yeah, we're going to be doing some janky stuff. You can tell immediately from the CMC layout that we are very heavy in 2 and 3 drop. We basically only have Path to Exile as a 1 drop and a bunch of random spells. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the deck tech in a second. First of all, announcements. Next Sunday, which is going to be May the 12th, I'm going to be doing a Brew Legacy sort of thing. We're going to start off a little early for the stream. Typically it goes off at 6:30, but going to start, kind of go over some general concepts and actually how to brew just a random deck. Should be interesting, especially for Legacy, a little hard to brew in there, and it's also going to be a squirrel deck, so I'm really excited about that one. It's going to do horribly, but we're going to go over the entire process. Also, just found out I need 200 subscribers to get Card Hoarder, so please subscribe on Twitch. That would really help support the channel. Again, I've been trying not to plug so hard, but that feels like a ways away, and I've been bankrolling so far, so that'd be really awesome for me. But, in the meantime, Time Cop. So, what we are doing is Spell Queller. We're going to steal our opponent's spell that costs 4 or less, put it underneath Spell Queller. Then, thanks to Teferi, if they kill our Spell Queller, they're not getting it back. And Teferi can actually minus to pick up our Spell Queller, and we can run it back. We also get Lavinia. So when your opponent gets the card under Spell Queller back, it says, the owner may cast that card without paying its mana cost. And Lavinia says that if an opponent were to cast a spell and no mana was spent on it, you get to counter it. So Spell Queller becomes a hard counter with Lavinia out. Then on top of that, we have a couple of ways to flicker our Spell Queller. Restoration Angel is going to put a relevant body on the battlefield, protect our Spell Queller, allow them to steal another card. So if opponent's actually putting a spell out there and we don't have a Teferi or something to protect it, we can just flicker the Spell Queller. If we do have something underneath it, we basically just get to counter it for the flicker cost. And then we also get Aethersworn Canonist main board. This is going to hurt us a little bit, but it's going to be applying the same rules to both us and opponents. So they go to cast something really terrible, like an Aether Vial for turn. We flicker our Spell Queller. They can't cast a second card. We just have a Spell Queller active with nothing under it. So there's a little bit of cheese and jank in there. Then on top of that, we get Delay. It is probably going to be the closest thing we have to Counterspell in this deck. So you get to counter it and exile it with 3 time counters. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you remove one of those counters. So then we're going to allow them to cast it in 3 turns. But you know what? It's during their upkeep, and Time Cop Teferi doesn't like that. Time Cop Lavinia doesn't like that. So Delay can become a hard counter. We're also running a full suite of Meddling Mage, the hardest card in Humans to actually cast correctly. Meddling Mage will make it so if we delay something and we really don't want to see it, we can just name the delayed card. Meddling Mage can also go in and basically take any card that our opponent is using to combo off. And then we have a couple of things that will deal with problem permanence in the deck. We end up getting Path to Exile, Deputy of Detention. Yeah, so that's the deck. We are running 2 mainboard rips. That is actually the correct call in Modern these days. People have been playing with some War Jank and the Narset deck that we played against, decks similar to this one. But a lot of decks still utilize the Graveyard. I feel like that's the correct call. It's a pretty easy swap with the Phyrexian Revoker in our sideboard, if that isn't relevant. But we're going to try to tell people to play on our time. And it looks like I didn't update our overlay. There's that. Ooh, it's a little too big. Sorry, opponent. Gonna take 1 second while I fiddle with my screen. And gotta reset our match record. So, hoping that this does okay. I'm not expecting it to do amazing, but, you know, King of the 2-3 bracket, we're playing with some janky stuff. We do have some powerful cards, but we don't really have, like, big Teferi or anything like that, so this is a very white hand. A very, very white hand. Yeah, that's going to be a mulligan. Need more lands than that. And this has a couple of interesting synergistic pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. I don't believe we need a 4th land. This deck can run mostly off of 3 mana with only the Restoration Angel at 4, and we only have 2 of those. Lavinia, you could have come out 1 turn sooner. You really could have come out one turn sooner. Alright, so they targeted themselves, figuring out if they need to crack their fetch land or not. And then this one's probably going to target us, but whatever. Just correct sequencing and not take the damage. I'm expecting this to be Grixis Death Shadow. Could potentially also be any version of Traversive. Opponent gets to draw their card. Done to Teferi's not bad. But we can run out Lavinia. She's probably going to get pushed, but we get to run her out. I've really been a fan of the Snar set. I tossed one in this deck. She can also go grab, basically, our Planeswalkers if we need them, or just interaction. Ooh, Thought Scour. Alright, well, this is basically confirmed Grixis Death Shadow at this point. I'm expecting a Gurmag Angler. Teferi can bounce a Gurmag Angler kind of profitably. Lavinia only stops non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than what opponent controls. Is this a Bolt? I don't expect my Lavinia to live long in this world. Nope. There's Mr. Fish. Alright, and return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. Seems super relevant here. Let's actually do that correctly, though. Blue, white, 1. Basically just confirm for our opponent what we're doing. We're not letting them do things. Oh, you had Stubborn Denial. Not cool. I should have seen that. Oh well, we'll take our beats for 5, and Teferi can come down, or if opponent's representing Stubborn Denial again, Displacer can come out, and we can just start flickering the Gurmag Angler until the end of time. Although I'm kind of okay taking 5 for a bit. A Battle Rage would be crazy bad. Alright, so Rip would have been good before the Gurmag Angler. Let's go ahead and run it back and see how this does. It feels like they always have like 3 copies of Stubborn Denial. I don't know how they pull it off. Okay. That's interesting. We'll bounce the Fish. And Path is a pretty good one. So opponent can put anything in the graveyard, loot with Jace, get an active Planeswalker, refish. But we have some cards that do things. Alright, Death Shadow in the graveyard. There's 2 Stubborn Denials down. Recast Thought Scour. You know you want to do it. You know you want to do it. Oh, okay, fine. Shrinky Dink, Lavinia. It's fine. Pretty soon we're going to soft lock you out of the game anyway, so whatever works. There's Mr. Fish. Aha! Walked right into our Lavinia opponent. Walked right into it. Teferi actually makes it so that they can't Thought Scour anymore. I am actually a huge fan of that now. I should probably like take a moment and try to figure out what my cards do. Alright, so probably pathing the Fish, probably just running out Rest in Peace. Alternatively, I can run out a Displacer. That doesn't seem very relevant. So I can cast Sorceries. I'm going to wait until my opponent's upkeep. They can't do anything anyway, and this means that they'll have an untapped basic. In the meantime, though, this is a Rip. Goodbye, Graveyard. Then just go ahead and ship it on to opponent's upkeep. Teferi is locking them out of casting an instant, so timing here is relevant. We get a Path. I should have waited until draw step. So the logic there is if I wait until draw step and they draw their only basic, path won't actually get them a land. And this also gives them a 1 in 36 chance of drawing their basic. But it is what it is. Alright, so whenever you cast a spell, opponent mills 5. That's honestly okay. Displacer gets to come out. Narset doesn't feel incredibly relevant here. They can just Street Wraith or Thought Scour on our turn if they're trying to actually set something up. There's our Displacer. And we are fairly close to locking them out. We just need a Spell Queller. Push on Lavinia. That seems like an interesting target, but alright. They can trigger Revolt. Alright, they have a Dismember. So Jace is going to get plussed. We got to run out Displacer, see if they have any more removal. Honestly, of all the ways I could have thought this game would go, I didn't think that I'd be stuck on 3 lands trying to run out of Displacer into a Jace Vryn's Prodigy ultimating. But things happen. Let's see what opponent's got. Opponent is correctly keeping back their fetch lands here. I believe that they at least have a Steam Vents left in deck, but this can lower their life total on a whim. So if they get a Death Shadow, it's actually relevant. Although, apparently it didn't get a Death Shadow. Triggering Revolt for a Fatal Push, yep. Alright, perfect timing for you, Deputy of Detention. Woot woot. Sorry, opponent, that could not have felt good. You were so close. You're so very close. Time Cop! Alright, I just want to cast something. Okay, well, we need lands here. Opponent could technically have Snapcaster Mage still, so I'm going to attack first. Honestly, him hitting my Teferi isn't overly relevant, though, so Narset's probably just going to come down. Blue, blue 1. There's Narset. Narset gets to minus. We get a look at the top 4, reveal a non-creature, non-land, put it into hand. Amazing. Look at that. That's skillful deck building right there. But we have all the fun war cards. Alright, so we didn't see the lock there, but opponent did start to feel the squeeze. Dispel's definitely coming in, if for nothing else than Kolaghan's Command. Phyrexian Revoker would have been mildly relevant there, but the number of times I have brought in Rest in Peace for Gurmag Angler and opponent showed me a hand with like 3 Gurmag Anglers in it has just been astounding. Mirian Crusader has protection from black, which means it can block a Death Shadow pretty profitably, as well as swing in unblocked against an opponent lowering their life total with Double Strike. As far as cuts, Meddling Mage can just get removed by a ton of stuff, but Meddling Mage is in here because as far as must answer threats go and creatures, we end up having a lot of them. Basically, all of these creatures require removal. Aethersworn Canonist is kind of fine. This is probably my cut, since we're bringing other stuff in. We're never going to have the life gain from Timely Reinforcements. This is in here for burn. This is a good way to also chip in for a little bit more damage. There's just so many cards that I want. Deputy is kind of relevant. Displacer is part of our combo. Narset's actually kind of bad. It doesn't stop their card draw, and we brought in a lot of stuff we can't tutor for. Then maybe Geist is just being too... Swinging in with a 4/4 flyer at the end of the game is really relevant, but Marian Crusader's just better off the top, and those are probably the two that I'm looking at. If I survive converted mana cost, we do see the problem with this deck, though, which is that curve. You typically want it to look a little bit more like that. But we can run it like this, hopefully see some good stuff here. Alright, well, we have our lands, we have interaction, we have sideboard hate. I like this hand. I'm not going to scoff at a hand that's giving me the cards that I want in it. This Cavern was in here as a way to produce colorless as well as making something uncounterable. It probably could be something else, but we can only fit 4 Addarkar Waste in our deck, so concessions have to be made. It's possible opponent runs out of Gurmag next turn, but Celestial Colonnade entering tapped is the best we're going to do. If they end up fishing, then we can just double path. Opponent's being very aggressive with their life total. I'm getting the read here that they're going to try to jam a Death Shadow this turn, potentially after a Thoughtseize. Or I don't know what they're doing. Alright, well, we can go ahead and run out our wastes and try to rip. Honestly, if you Stubborn Denial this, I'm fine with it. Okay. Now, I won't pay for that Stubborn Denial. So that means a Gurmag Angler is in our near future. It also means I don't know what I want to run out here. So this can get bolted, but I think that they don't have a ton of bolts in their list. This pretty much assuredly means that I'm pathing. Ooh, are my Meddling Mage... Alright, so what is going in my head right now is I can Meddling Mage and name Stubborn Denial, and that's going to shut off the Stubborn Denial that they're clearly representing. I can also Path to Exile, eat the Stubborn Denial, run out Meddling Mage, call Lightning Bolt, but then they'll just push the Meddling Mage and Marian Crusader's going to eat the bolt. If I Meddling Mage on Fatal Push, it's probably going to have more hits in their deck. But odds are that I'm going to get Stubborn Denial on the Path to Exile, which means I need to use the other Path to Exile now. So I'm just going to run out that line and see how it turns up. More than likely the Solid Fountain will just come into play tapped and we'll save ourselves a life total here. Or they're trying to Thought Scour here. Alright, so I'm getting the read that Thought Scour is in hand, but when you're trying to run Meddling Mage, you want to... Calling Human because it hits Meddling Mage and Marian Crusader as well as Deputy of Detention. I think it hits Deputy. But you always want to name the card that's going to beat you, not that you're getting the read of is in your opponent's hand. And right now the card that's going to beat Meddling Mage is Fatal Push. If they have a Lightning Bolt, they're going to use it to kill Meddling Mage, and then Marian Crusader should come in unchallenged. Oh, they admit Dismember. Alright, well, that was a wrong read on my part. Dismember is much better for the Death Shadow opponent. Alright, so first things first, let's go ahead and Marian Crusader. See if they've got the bolt. I can't imagine that they do, but they could. And then I'm going to take the shock. Our life total is significantly more padded than theirs, and holding up a Path to Exile feels relevant. This card's so good. Alright, well, pretty easy showing against Death Shadow. So they're trying to play a tempo game, and we just have a better tempo deck, which is weird. We also have a lot of cards that shut off their strategy. The Dogfish. Ooh, Bitey the Carrion Imp. I like that. We need to draw land, but we have a turn 2 Lavinia and to turn 3 Teferi with backup Teferi as well as Displacer. I like these cards. We have lands and spells. I'd prefer to see more lands, but blue opponent. Okay, so oddly enough, in my head right now, I'm thinking we're up against shenanigans. Well, that lets us do our shenanigans. So Lavinia gets to come out, and opponent's F6'd. We still haven't seen a single spell queller or a delay. Oh, it's Merfolk. Okay. We're moderately well set up for Merfolk. Although Lavinia does absolutely nothing against Aether Vial, neither does Spell Queller or Delay. Okay, that's perfectly fine. I mean, honestly, I have my colors. In fact, I have more than my colors. Here, I think it's just Teferi. So I'm 100% getting the read that this is Merfolk, and they didn't have a Silver Guild. They're potentially missing blue. And they probably just didn't want to Spreading Seas their Mutavault. That could be 100% incorrect. This could just be blue-white control, and they have a Mutavault because it's relevant some way. It could also be fairies. It could be fairies and they're missing their black. But either way, Teferi just comes down, is going to stop a lot of shenanigans. And then if we draw Spell Queller, we're in a pretty good position. The alternate here is run out Displacer, but if they're going to deal something on the field, I'd prefer they deal with the Teferi, and then we have the backup one. I didn't plus that, did I? Yep, okay. Well, I ran out of Planeswalker and didn't do anything with him, but that's what we're doing tonight. Another Spreading Seas. All right. Again, fine. Ooh, Path is pretty good. All right. Lavinia, go get your beats. As much as I'm not a fan of it, I'm going to be running out Displacer here. And I'm actually going to plus Teferi because that's what smart people do with their Planeswalkers, is activate them. Next turn, Teferi can bounce the Aether Vial, so it's effectively useless. Restoration Angel can be held up to protect Displacer. Tech Edge. Okay, so this is some old Merfolk tech. Either that or this is just like weird mono blue spirits, and I just haven't seen the right pieces yet. Ooh, V-click? The timing of this means that I get a resto to protect whatever you're doing, so... Yeah, Teferi means that you have to do it in your main phase. Sorry, opponent, that's not really how this works. Oh, okay. Opponent's going to be a sad opponent. So I'm going to attack in. They're possibly going to try to block with their Mutavault, but I'll happily path it. We've got plenty going on. Yep. Bye. Basically trading a fun land for a basic. I've also got to start getting my clock on. And we technically have our lockup. I guess we need a colorless first, but we're close to having our lockup. This is just Aether Vial, I don't care. Time Cop! Okay, overtapped and mistapped. Yeah, sorry opponent, I want that. And now they can't recast it with Teferi out. Biomancer literally does nothing. We even got a redundant Teferi. Alright, so if I had actually plus Teferi on the first turn that he came out, I could bounce Spell Queller, run out another Teferi, and basically be holding Spell Queller. In the meantime, though, we can just get some beats in. Time Cop! Honestly, attacking for 7 with an opponent at 11 is pretty relevant. Restoration Angel is just going to flicker Spell Queller. Teferi's just going to do whatever Teferi does. This Biomancer's going to be on defense for a resto that, yeah. If they cast anything with flying, I just resto it. If not, I really don't care. Three mana? Something with flying? No? Okay. Master of the Pearl Trident. Don't really care. Alright, apparently Teferi's worth attacking. Merfolk does do a lot of instant speed shenanigans, so they're probably holding on to a... Oh, but I could kill it, or I can win. I can kill it, or I can win. Okay, opponent knows that they're... okay. Opponent probably had a Trickster in hand or a Harbinger in hand. Probably Trickster, but it just didn't make sense to run it out. As far as cuts here, I don't really think there's anything I want to cut. So Revoker can name Aether Vial, and that can stop a lot of their shenanigans. Stony Silence never comes in just for Aether Vial. Our Rips can definitely come out, though, and like I said, this is a pretty easy trim to just do that. Meridian Crusader isn't pro-blue, so that's not overly relevant, and if they're going to try to spreading Caesar white sources, this might be a little hard to cast. Timely Reinforcements can be cute, but it's in here for burn. Geist can get another flying attacker in, but I honestly think we're just going to tempo them out really hard and make set their counterspells aren't live. So I'm just going to run it as is, Rips for Revokers. Wow. Alright, so this is a turn 2 Meddling Mage or Delay and a Spell Queller. That might be a little slow. The way that they've been playing it recently is run out like a Benthic Biomancer or a Silvergill Adept and just have a couple of Lords, not necessarily all 16 of them. Well, I guess 12 and the Regeries, but they try to beat down with the creatures while they control the game. We have much stronger hate pieces than this. Cavern can make it so I can land my spirits without too much issue, but I kind of want a Path or a Teferi. Ew. Ew. This was a mistake. Such a bad mistake. Okay, this is a little bit better. Alright, opponent keeps 6. I'm going to put Delay to the bottom. I want to hit my third land drop for this hand. And opponent put a card on top. So, Flooded Strand, if I don't have to Path, I won't. And then I can just run out Meddling Mage / Revoker. And that's a pretty decent Path target. So, I've got to get white. I'm thinking basic, just so I don't take the shock. Preserve my life total as much as possible. Yep. Bye, Lord. Lavinia. Okay, so Meddling Mage, the names here. I can name any of their redundant lords. We saw a Lord of Atlantis, which means Master of the Pearl Trident's probably the top lord I'd name. I can name Aether Vial because that's a problem, but I also have Phyrexian Revoker to deal with that. Lavinia is not going to cover a whole lot. They end up running Deprive as their primary counterspell. They also run Spell Pierce, but Spell Pierce doesn't really mean a whole lot. I think for right now, the thing I'm most concerned about is them getting critical mass on the table, which means Meddling Mage comes out. Their best Merfolk is Silvergill Adept, but I probably just want Master of the Pearl Trident because I know that opponent's going to have 4 of those in their deck. Meddling Mage is always hard to name. Alright, so there's an Aether Vial. Phyrexian Revoker is going to hit that. Can also... This is non-land? Yeah, non-land. So Mutavault's live. Opponent's also got some counter spells in hand. Ugh, so ugly. So very ugly. Honestly, them countering this is not a big deal. Trickster will take away the text from Meddling Mage, and then they can name Master, but... Yeah, and Meddling Mage is staying back. No way I'm trading that for a Mutavault. Yeah, until they get a Lord. Once they get a Lord, though, they'll have Island Walk. Although, I haven't gotten an Island yet. I also probably should have pointed that out. The basic made it so that they couldn't Island Walk with any Lords out. Alright, so, opponent, what you doing? Teferi's been such a fun card. I'm trying to figure out if I should be keeping these or not. Dismember? Alright, so I'm expecting 2 Lords from them. I'm also expecting Teferi to be quite good here. Although, let's actually tap for blue because I've played this game before. Yeah, playing blue-white with no islands is quite good. Alright, so Phyrexian Revoker can currently block Mutavault at least until they put another Lord out. Aether Vial's currently shut off. Okay. Yep. Now the question is, do I trade Phyrexian Revoker to keep Teferi alive? I think I do. Because that means that Teferi is going to lock them out, although the Aether Vial is still active. I'm so close to the lock, though. I guess Spellqueller and Lavinia is still a combo. Phyrexian Revoker is also stopping them from attacking in with the Master of the Pearl Trident until they get another Lord, so that all seems fine. Not happy about it, but it seems fine. Ooh, Resto's a pretty good one, too. So do I run out Lavinia now so that Resto is live for free counter spells off Spellqueller? Alright, so the logic here is if I run out Lavinia, the counters a spell where no mana was cost becomes relevant. I can hold up Spellqueller, but they're likely going to put a Lord in at instep. And Restoration Angel flickering Spellqueller means a free counter on whatever Spellqueller grabs the first time around. Yeah, that means Lavinia comes out for now. I'm going to take beats for a turn and then hold up Spellqueller. Oh, duh, Aether Vial shut off. Oh my gosh, there's so many cards. I can say this deck has a lot of lines. I have been enjoying that so far. You have to protect your combo while still trying to keep up tempo. So, Island Walk is still technically a thing. Restoration Act is going to be active next turn. Spellqueller is going to be able to snag any creature. Ooh, Narset. I think they took all the Silvergills out of their deck. At least this opponent did. I haven't seen any yet. In the meantime, though... Is Lavinia going to get in unblocked? I feel like she is. Whatever. I'll just hold up Spellqueller. If they try to do something pre-combat, then I can just Spellqueller it, and then Resto's going to be active. I'm only taking beats for 3 at the given moment. If they get too active, then that means that Resto's just going to eat their creature. Yep, Mutavault's coming in again. Now, do I eat Mutavault? Oh, they can Trickster my Resto. That's why they've been doing this so aggressively. Alright, well, that means Lavinia is going to Fog. Oh, lame. Alright, well, there goes like all of the combo. I think I just punted this game away. I was under the read of... Ugh. Wow, alright. I think I go digging, and depending on what I dig into, maybe just move on. I think it kind of has become one. They are running Deprive, which wasn't active, which is why that felt like a safe block. Spell Pierce is more common, though. I will give you that. Spell Pierce is a lot more common in Merfolk, but I think they have 1 or 2 mana leaks as well. Yeah, that Lavinia needed to stick around. Delay was going to be a hard counter. Spell Queller was going to be a good counter. I just got the combo together. The Mortal Kombat mana leak was definitely a blowout. Okay. And they're leaving up another counter spell. That's interesting. Alright, Deputy of Detention's a pretty decent one. Let's see if they've got another mana leak, though. Taking out 2 lords is quite a big win. Alright, you have both. That's a thing. I'm actually going to be curious now, and I'm going to go look to see how many Merfolk normally runs. So, Merfolk deck, I guess MTG Goldfish is fine. They should show me at least some metadata. Alright, so they have Deprived, they have Spell Pierce, they have Echoing Truth. Okay. Let's go down here. 2 Cryptics occasionally. Vapor Snag. Alright, I guess they usually don't have it. I've seen it before, but they usually don't have it. Opponent left up double blue, so I'm curious to see what they held up. Displacer can eat a Lord, so I think that means Displacer has to come down. If you seriously had another mana leak. Okay, so that's still lethal regardless. Alright. So, does that change anything? Timely might get a little bit more value just because I can... I can't really jump block. They're going to give me islands. Damping Sphere doesn't seem relevant. I think I want the Dispels now. Probably the Dispels over the Revokers. The curve of this deck is just horrendous. Actually, I think I'd prefer to have the Revokers over the Canoness. These hurt me just about as much as opponent. I think the plan is just stick a Teferi so they can't counter my spells. Alright, so quick path. Deputy, whatever they end up running out. Displacer can just start having fun with things. I have my colorless mana. 4 mana is a lot, though. Oh my gosh. This is one of those where I'm going to mulligan, and it's a terrible decision. But I think a turn 3 creature just isn't going to be relevant enough. This also isn't like Flicker Wisp. They just get their creature back, so I can't really get rid of Island Walk for a turn. I think this has to be a mulligan. This is slightly better. Spell Queller. Oh, it's so tempting, but I want more mana. So, Meddling Mage, first one can name... Dismember and Mana Leak are at the top of my name list. They've only got to have the one Dismember. It kept them alive, though. So let's go ahead and just name Mana Leak. We have so many creature-based control things, it just seems relevant enough. Now, what you got? And do I also want to block with Meddling Mage if it attacks in? So if it attacks in, they'll be able to get a loot. I'll make the trade, and then I can run out another Meddling Mage. Yeah, that doesn't seem relevant enough. Nope, you get your free attack, sir. Silvergill revealing Silvergill. Alright. So, my options here, I can Meddling Mage a Silvergill, path the first one. I can wait for the other Silvergill to land, but it will replace itself. I can Meddling Mage naming a Lord and keep path up. Silvergill is the best card in their deck. I'm inclined to make sure that they don't get to keep it. I can also just Displacer when it enters the battlefield, so I can't even do any Displacer shenanigans with that. This is an interesting one. Alright, well, I guess I'm on Meddling Mage on Silvergill. Hold up path. Do I actually want to attack in? If I attack in, I'm going to path this anyway. I'll get my 2 damage in. Opponent won't be able to Silvergill, but their Lord will come out and stick. I can follow it up with Deputy, but opponent's going to be ahead by 5 cards. Yeah, I think this is my best bet at the given moment. I don't like it, but it's where we're at. Ramping them also isn't great. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that play. But Spellcrawler would be nice. Actually, Teferi would be nice. Oh, that is bull. How do you have Mana Leak and Echoing Truth, opponent? Revealing Harbinger of the Tides. Alright. I'm still putting them on Mana Leak. Although this lets me run out both. So let's just grab a basic Plains. Meddling Mage. We're going to name Mana Leak, because that's the most frustrating thing for us. Then white, blue, Meddling Mage. I'm going to name a Lord. I don't want them to be able to go in unblocked, and I'm actually going to go Lord of Atlantis. If they attack in, I'm probably going to force them to block with the Biomancer, or force them to adapt. Lame. Wrong name. Alright. Well, this is why Meddling Mage is a hard card to play with. Alright, Lavinia doesn't really accomplish a whole lot, but Deputy of Detention, if it resolves, will get rid of the Lord and give me free blockers. Oh my gosh. I knew I should have named Dismember. What was the odds that they drew at both games, though? I don't even know what I want to draw here. I think we just lost. I'll see what my next card is, but odds are I'm not going to be able to do anything here. I can potentially draw a Path and Path the Master, but I'm expecting them to have more Mana Leaks in hand. Without a way to actually answer the Master, just dead on table. Yeah, I actually felt pretty favored to win that one, but wasn't meant to be. I did call the Dismember when I was trying to name the first Meddling Mage. Perhaps that was correct. Just protect the Meddling Mage and then make it so that they could never mana leak. The Echoing Truth out of the board also is pretty brutal, though. Overall, though, fairly interesting game. Definitely should have taken that game too, though. Mana leak on Restoration Angel. The shenanigans. What I think I've learned so far, though, is new Teferi is a good card. And if you're putting cards in your deck that work with Teferi, it's really good to see Teferi. Because Lavinia is just a little too easy to answer. Alright, we have a Canonist, a Delay, a Resto, a Path. I don't know what it is. Like, these are odd cards, and you typically shouldn't be happy to see them in just the most random deck, but when I see cards like Restoration Angel and Path to Exile, I feel significantly more confident than seeing something like an Elder Spell and a Bolus. Alright. So, Blood Crypt could be Dredge. I'm getting more of a Hollow One vibe from this, though. Blood Moon actually should have been on my radar. I probably should have gotten a basic there. Wooded Foothills makes it look a little bit more like Dredge. Delay could be amazing versus a Cathartic Reunion here. But seeing as we have Path, I think I'm just going to get my Canonist out and try to prevent some of those shenanigans. We have more white cards in our deck, so I'm going to get the Plains in case I am expecting a Blood Moon. If it's Mardu Pyromancer, I could see a Blood Moon. If it's Dredge or Hollow One, I wouldn't expect it. But opponent's shown us a green, a black, and a red fetch land. Okay, so it's Dredge. And the text on this is a non-artifact spell, so they get to cast that and something else. Amazing. Dark Blast isn't actually that relevant against us. Path's going to be decent, though. I like Pat. Oh. And this is why we run Rest in Peace, main board and Modern. Sorry, opponent. Game 2? I missequenced there. I should have used this for colorless and left up the Hollowed Fountain. I just got excited when I saw the Rest in Peace. My emotions came over me. It was just such a beautiful sight. Off the top, too. Deck, you're being all kinds of fair with me today. Now the question is, are they next leveling hard enough that they can answer the Rest in Peace? Oh, a Delay would be so nice here. Well, they can't cast anything else, so they discarded lands. They're also getting flooded. Ooh, okay, what does that mean? Meddling Mage can name Conflagrate, although that's not nearly as nasty unless it's coming from the graveyard. Life from the Loam doesn't do anything. It's going to be hard for them to hardcast Prized Amalgam. Okay, I might actually need to cheat and look up a deck list here. It's been a little while since I've played Dredge. So, Dredge, MTG Goldfish. Single Thug, Stinkweed Imp could be interesting. It's got Pseudo Death Touch. Dark Blast isn't going to do anything. That's going to let them loot through their deck. Creeping Chill won't kill us. So I'm on Conflagrate, Stinkweed Imp, or Bloodghast. Bloodghast dying once is fine. So I'm going to name Human here. It seems like the most relevant card in our deck. So, opponent said, "Who hurt you?" I don't know that we're not technically a prison deck. I mean, we lock the opponent out, but we're not technically a prison deck. I mean, we're closer resembling hate bears, but unfortunately, Thalia with Lavinia and Spell Queller on non-creatures doesn't work the way you want it to. They're going to pay 1 off the Thalia attacks, so Lavinia won't counter it. Yeah, let's go ahead and delay that. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, opponent. I'm not actually that sorry, but I'm sorry, opponent. Alright, so if Phyrexian Revoker can name Shriekhorn, the Mirroring Crusader has protection from all the relevant colors, except for Conflagrate, but if they're Conflagrate the Mirroring Crusader, I'm happy. Path is great, Aethersworn Canonist is alright. Rip is just the winner. Like, taking game 1 off of Rip is just fantastic versus Dredge. It makes me all kinds of happy. Meddling Mage naming Conflagrate is quite good. I'm going to pull this back over for just a second. Lightning Axe, Nature's Claim, Abrupt Decay, Ancient Grudge, Memory's Journey, Leyline. But more importantly, there's Ray of Revelation. Destroy target enchantment with flashback. So, let's see here. Phyrexian Revoker is maybe. I'm going to put you over here as a maybe. Narset, not allowing them to dredge multiple times off of Faithless Looting and Conflagrate seems relevant. Spell Queller seems kind of relevant. Deputy seems great. Displacer is part of our combo. Lavinia is part of our combo, but not as good. I think I'd prefer to have Lavinia over Phyrexian Revoker, so that's already a cut. Canonist can be a trim. And maybe just a delay? I don't know. Delay's going to buy a ton of time against them, especially if they get one of their more explosive starts. Maybe just a resto. If the game's going that long, we've already won. I mean, it does what we want it to. Yeah, we can keep this. And there's a Faithless Looting. Show me the dredge! Alright, so they have the Nature's Claim. That's worth noting. Depending on how hard they go out here, I'm probably just ripping anyway. Because Conflagrate's really, really nasty, and opponent's missing their land drop. So I can Meddling Mage first since they're missing land drops. They're going to have to take a natural draw. So yeah, Meddling Mage on Nature's Claim. Nature's Claim. Now show me Ray of Revelation. Because honestly, if you get a lot of stuff out, Deputy's just going to clean it all up. And Rip's going to make sure that this stuff doesn't come back because I don't like it. Deputy also very nicely blocks Bloodcast. I haven't actually played this matchup yet, and that looks quite nice. Okay, so opponent dredged with the Golgari Thug, so they're missing land drops again. They have Abrupt Decay as well. So Abrupt Decay can hit a Meddling Mage. Oh my gosh, I think I have to rip now. We're going to turn 3. Opponent's being super greedy with their dredging, though. Alright, whatever. We rip. Because at least at this point, they'll need to reset up. They're going to have to take their natural draw. They might hit a land. They might abrupt decay. Nope. All right. Locked it up. Sorry, opponent. It's hard to love again. I think that's the most I can say about that. Like, that wasn't very fair to you, but then again, we also just took out Bogles very, very, very unfairly in the last stream. Elder Spell with Bolus and Lily, and opponent didn't have ley lines, and when you have 3 Lilies and 2 Lilies Triumph Spain board, that doesn't really bode well for Bogles. Opponent's little quip there about who hurt you, though. Like, we're making it so that people can't cast things. We're locking them out. Like, it is technically a prison deck. I'm using the word technically because we have cards that lock the opponent out, but they're all static abilities on value creatures. We're essentially just a rebuild of spirits, or maybe even just like a combination of spirit tempo and taxes. Although Thalia doesn't really work here. But we are running like Displacer and Resto Angel and Canonist, and we have a suite of cards that do things like taxes. Alright, well, this is a very painful mana base, but Human's going to be quite nice for our Cavern. We're set up for creature matchups. We're kind of set up for control. It's fine. Again, these are cards that we put in our deck. And seeing 2 Meddling Mages makes me incredibly happy for some reason. I might need to play with this card more. Although OG Art is going to be my favorite. Let's see if I can pull that up well. Opponent's tanking. I like the contrasting hands, Meddling Mages chant so loudly no one can get a spell in edgewise, just awesome flavor text. This was one of the cards that... Affinity. That was one of the cards that the winner got to design their own card, similar to Solemn Simulacrum, and Snapcaster Mage, and Bob. Okay, so this is going to be delay whatever they cast or potentially path it? Path whatever plating goes on to? Okay, so this is also Experimental Frenzy, which means Meddling Mage has a name. Blood Moon. Fun. And sorry, I'm getting a lot of text messages right now. Delay Blood Moon. That gives us time to set up. Alright, what does this mean? So, Canonist is actively going to help them. I think I'm Meddling Maging Blood Moon. That feels awful. Experimental Frenzy's also on the short list. But right now we can't get around Blood Moon, so... Blood Moon it is. Delay. Amazing. I love it. Time Cop! I mean, we've already got our 2 matches for King of the 2-3 bracket with Janky List, so I'm happy, but if this deck does go like 4-1, I kind of hope Time Cop sticks, because that is very relevant to what we're doing. Alright, well, Human comes down again. This time I'm naming Experimental Frenzy. I'm getting the read that that's what opponent's on. And I cannot keep up with that card advantage no matter how hard my lock gets. They could technically block with the Blink Moth, but that's not what they want to do. They have 4 mana. Hello, Mimnite. Do you want to cast something big so we can delay it again? Because I've honestly got to say, delay and then name it with Meddling Mage might be one of my new favorite combos. Suit up Cranial Plating. I'm just going to path it. It does mean that they get to put cranial plating on the Memnite, which is going to turn off my attacks, but whatever. There we go, as expected. Oh, what do I even name with that? So, Galvanic Blast is probably going to be the biggest blowout, and also probably the most common card in their deck. Gotta love game 1, the triple meddling mage. I'm holding up delay because I'm expecting an interaction for this Blood Moon meddling mage, so he'll still lock us out. Aethersworn Canoness is a decent blocker for this Memnite. They're just going to Welding Jar it, but... Oh wow, they're going crazy on the lands. Yep. Yep. Can't really counter that. And that is a real clock, so hoping for a Resto Angel? That doesn't even really do it. Probably just a Teferi. Teferi bounce plating's probably my best line here. I do know my Revokers are coming in, though. That's something I know for sure. Alright, mildly awkward with our mana base, but that'll be a blocker. At least for a turn. It might have been correct to attack in there, because they might have used the Welding Jar to get rid of the Meddling Mage. They also don't have double black, so they can't use the instant speed move on this. But first answer. Should eat the Welding Jar. It'd be really nice if we could get our lock going, but then again they also have 2 creature lands, so that's not going to be very easy to pull off. Interesting. We have Field of Ruins? Oh, that also does it. Although we're getting a little low. These man lands will actually start putting some pretty good chip damage in before too long. We get to take the cranial plating. Oh, that Blood Moon would have gotten us so good. Okay, that seems like a weird time to use the Welding Jar, but alright. I'm on board. Yep, we'll take 2. We're currently on a 4-turn clock. Currently representing a 3-turn clock through blocker. That land's a little weak to path. Do you have a follow-up? Nope, probably just another Blood Moon you can't cast. And there's the Field of Ruin. Alright, so 2 mana into Field of Ruin, 2 mana for delay. Yeah, that seems fairly safe. I want to leave Deputy back so that Memnite can't get an extra point in. That'll change the clock. And another Memnite. Still not worth delaying. You have to wait for him to attack, otherwise he'll just tap and buff the other one. And I think I want my blue source here. I want to make sure to be able to cast delay if for whatever reason this goes horribly wrong and I can't And they get a Blood Moon off. But we're representing a real clock here, and we actually have a decent amount of protection. Flooded Strand changes the clock a little too much. Although it's a human, so we get a Caverns It. That's nice. Why is everything a human? This is a frickin' artifact. It's also a cleric. Like, that doesn't look human. Attacking in with Deputy here did change the clock because they can block a Meddling Mage, but we're still going to hit for 5. We would technically still have lethal, but getting them down to current board state felt relevant enough, especially because they've kept one card in hand for a very long time, which means this delay is pretty much active. Like, just trying to be as cautious as possible. Doing the combat math just made more sense to do it there. Phyrexian Revoker and Rip Out. Pretty easy there. Mirroring Crusader's not really going to do a whole lot. Timely Reinforcements could be relevant, but most of the time if they cheese you a kill, they end up killing you with poison damage. Dispel can hit Galvanic Blast, but I still don't know if that's in their deck. It's pretty likely, but I don't know for sure. I ended up just naming it because there's a way to kill a Meddling Mage. Stony Silence is also in. Almost missed that guy, despite the fact being one of our best cards here. As far as cuts, Eldrazi Displacer can be cute, especially if we end up getting to the point where we're doing combat math with like moving counters over or moving cranial plating. I can just tap down attackers. Narset doesn't feel overly relevant. They're not going to try to draw multiple cards. The old blue-red list had Thoughtcast, but still not great. Teferi's mildly relevant. I'm more concerned about getting locked out by Blood Moon. As far as just a single cut, it's probably just going to be a... Lavinia is super relevant here. They have a lot of things that cost 0. Meddling Mage is still pretty good. Phyrexian Revoker can name whatever problem there is, although this won't hit a land. This is probably just the weakest 2-drop in our deck because they have all artifacts. I think that's about it. That's about as safe as it gets. Damping Sphere isn't really relevant. Dispel's not super relevant. Geist isn't required. Yeah. I mean, potentially more canonous for Timely Reinforcements is my only thought there. But opponent is playing an Empty My Hand deck on the play, so not even kind of sort of safe. This has a Meddling Mage, a Revoker, a Delay, no basics, but I'll have Delay up unless they get a Opal. I don't feel safe in that line. Being on the draw and having them ramp it out on turn 2 is potentially a problem with counter magic. Meddling Mage doesn't feel relevant enough. This is better late game. I'm going to take the mulligan. And blah, 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 blah. Not any better. Well, that's a backup plan. Hopefully it's not a turn 2 Blood Moon. Again, Cavern of Souls is in here. It is fringely good against control, but more or less it's to give us colorless and or colored to get out our humans and etc. But it gives us the colorless to activate Displacer because there's only Addarkar waste in our deck. Alright, not dead yet. I don't want to take any pain, though. Opponents representing one of their faster starts. I mean, Ornithopters and more Memnites could be in the mix, but... Arcbound Ravenger's quite good. Now the question is, do I need to hold up Delay, or can I run out Stony Silence? I'd love a basic. Or a fetch land. I have those. They're somewhere. Hey! So, guessing that means I can just Stony Silence here. But But that means I can only displace her for the rest of the game. I know. Any thoughts from Twitch chat? Can I run out the Stony Silence, or do I have to hold up delay? Anybody? Guess not. So, run Stony. Stony is highest upside. But if I get Blood Moon too, that's just the game. Odds of seeing a blue source are bad. Kind of the cost, so we are technically a 3-color deck. If I run out Displacer and see a path, though, I can just go get my blue source. Grow the Ravager! Grow him bigger! Oh, you're growing the Signal Pest? Opponent values the Reach, but Deputy is going to make quick work of that. Assuming I get the opportunity. No Blood Moon? No Blood Moon! I mean, dying to poison is definitely a real threat here, but... But we have time. We've bought ourselves time. Goodbye, Countess. And now I can hold up delay? Oh, there's the Blood Moon. Well, that actually helps me. It's weird how much that actually helps me. Because now their poison clock is down. And now I get a Displacer. And I get to attack in with my Deputy. And you can't do things. I don't think you have a Forest in there. So you can't interact with my Stony Silence. Experimental Frenzy would be bad for me, though. Okay, that's kind of bad. But I have Resto Angel? Resto Flicker Deputy, pick up both Signal Pests. Whatever, that's something I can play. Now the question is, do I get in with Deputy? I don't think the 1 point of damage is relevant enough when it's going to keep the Midnights back. I'm technically winning this race, as long as the Midnights can't get damage in. Oh, that's not fun, opponent. I wanted blue mana. Alright, and this means I do need to block, so... Oh boy, this clock's kind of real. 4-turn clock, now down to 3. So opponent's hitting for 5, I'm hitting for 3. I really need a Resto or Spell Queller. Spell Queller won't cut it. Haha, that land doesn't do anything. I've been prepping like every single stream to see a Blood Moon, and this is the first time where I'm like, I haven't seen it in a while. I'm a 2-color deck. I'm fine. You're never fine. Brad, were you around when the Dredge player asked me what went wrong in my life or something like that? Yeah, I ran out an Aethersworn Canonist on 2 and a Rip on 3 against Dredge. and he asked me what went wrong in my life or what happened to me or something like that because it was quite bad. I think we're dead on table. I think Resto is the only thing that's even kind of close to getting us out of this. Yeah, alright. So locked out by Blood Moon as expected. We knew that was a risk. Alright, so Geist is going to represent a better clock. Timely can kill all the little dudes on the ground. I honestly think we just have to try to be prepared for Blood Moon before it hits. And then in the post-board games, I Meddling Mage and named Nature's Claim and got another rip out, and he was stuck on one land. Yeah, that Dredge player was not having a good night. I would love to play first. Alright, so Flooded Strand can get me a basic. That basic can be used to path something. Turn 2 Blood Moon just kills me again. Spell Queller could be interesting, but it's going to die to one of their quicker starts. I'm going to mulligan, and it's not correct, but I think it's what I got to do. Okay, that's mildly better. Field of Ruin can get us our planes as well, so we can keep this. Resto, for now, can go to the bottom. We have other cards we'd prefer to see. Here you go, opponent. If you have double Opal into a Blood Moon, I guess you got us. That's possible, right? Opal, 2 artifacts, a land. Actually, if one of the lands is a Dark Steel, it's definitely possible. Hi, Springleaf Drum. Oh, even better. Commit into something big. I want to delay it. Something big. Yeah, that feels like it's worth delaying. Nope. Please come back in 3 turns when I have a Meddling Mage. or now. Now works. So more efficient use of mana here is to Displacer. And I probably need to keep this open to remember that I have to name it with Meddling Mage. This Meddling Mage could also name a Galvanic Blast. I think that's the card that I most am concerned with. Or I can just Meddling Mage and then flicker it after I counter the Cranial Plating. Again, this deck has a lot of fun lines. I think it lives up to the name Time Cop. Like, we basically said, come back tomorrow, but we're going to be ready for you tomorrow with all kinds of unimaginable ways. And it's evaluating the current board state as well as trying to look ahead to see what you could possibly see in the future. I'm enjoying it. Well, I called that. I 100% called that. Alright, so current evaluation. Cranial Plating's coming down in 2 turns, which means I can Meddling Mage next turn. Field of Ruin can take away their only land, but they have all their colored sources handled. If I take away the Springleaf Drum, they still have Affinity, so they can still tap for mana. Deputy of Detention or Arcbound Ravager is going to take away any kind of a clock that they've got. I think right now it's going to be a tapped Hallowed Fountain with Deputy of Detention or Arcbound Ravager. If they sack it again, I have multiple ways of flickering my creature, so I can get rid of the counter. And then next turn I get a Meddling Mage on the Cranial Plating, and they will only have 2 cards in hand. Again, interesting deck. I'm enjoying my time with it. This Field of Ruin is also a colorless source, so I can actually flicker my Deputy of Detention and my Meddling Mage, so I don't really want to sack it unless I have to. Oh, multiple Signal Pests. Oh, you have another Ravager too? Alright, so same logic train here. I've got to get this out. I don't want them to stick their cranial plating. With that out of the way, that means that I can block the Arcbound Ravager. If they sack to make it grow, then I have Path. Otherwise, I'm holding up ways to flicker Deputy and get multiple cards out of them. Let's see if they've got another Blast in hand, though. I really considered putting a Waste in this deck. It felt like a good Field of Ruin and Path to Exile target. It actually would have helped us last game under the Blood Moon. Of course you've got it. Of course you've got it. That was seriously the last card in hand. Yeah, that's going to resolve. Shenanigans. Shenanigans. Yeah, the odds were not very high of that. But they get to pay 1, move the cranial plating over. That means I have to path this now. Yep, and that's best timing. So I think I want to see a Teferi. No, Teferi bouncing doesn't do very much relevant. Of note, I did wait until the beginning combat step, so they couldn't re-equip in their main phase. And I kind of just have to be okay with that. I have multiple things I can draw into, like a Restoration Angel would just be fantastic. Although, Resto, they just sacked the Arcbound Ravager I retarget, so maybe not as good as I wanted it to be. Displacer does some stuff, though. So I'm going to have to take beats for a turn, then can start flickering their creatures. Well, a creature. Yay, single colorless source. And I'm not blocking with Deputy, so he's getting in. Yeah, I'd love some card advantage. I don't know what I'd put in for card advantage, though. Wall of Omens was kind of on the list, but it didn't feel like it did enough on its own. Alright, so currently taking 14. There could be an argument to block the Memnite, but then they just sack the Arcbound Ravager, and my Deputy of Detention won't win this game. Or they'll just eat the Memnite and still hit me for just 1 less. I don't want to give them the opportunity to take out my Displacer. I am going to be dead to one of the other Galvanic Blasts in the deck, though. Oh. Oh, if they would have done that differently, I think they could have killed me. Spell Queller. Alright, so I can't Displacer and Spell Queller. Oh, this is so awkward. They also have double black, so they can move it to whatever target they want to. I think I'm dead, but I'll let opponent actually figure out if I'm dead or not. One of the few times math is not for the blockers is affinity math. I will let them work that out. Alright. Animates another flyer. Oh, duh. They have 2 flying attackers. I can flash this in, and I can't flicker, so that's game. Ooh, alright, well, 2-2, but time cop. When our curve looks like this, I'm not expecting anything much better than that. Path to Exile would have been fantastic. When we have 8, 12, 14, 15 3 drops, it kind of makes sense. Being stuck at 5 lands is painful. But we won the die roll. That's step 1. This is a Path, a Canonist, a Lavinia, and a Displacer. These are the cards that win us the game, so I'd love a Spell Queller to get the combo completely out there. If we don't see one, though, we have playable cards. Alright, and you never want to Path on turn 1, because I'm basically going to Path this. I get rid of a creature, but they get to go get a land, so it doesn't do anything productive for me. The mana ramp does make them not be able to cast non-creatures with converted mana costs equal to greater than their lands, though. So Lavinia is going to do some work. Redundant Displacer's not bad. Basic Forest into Hierarch makes me think that this is not a budget list, so we're possibly looking at Infect. We could also be looking at Podmom. I have not seen Fairy Podmother in a while. This could also be like Abzan, or basically any deck similar to ours. Yeah, Knight of the Reliquary is a card. We're probably going to Canonist and Path it. Scratch that, we're definitely going to Canonist and Path it. So, need 2 white, so Waste comes down. The wording on this is a non-artifact, and it itself is an artifact, so sequencing here doesn't matter, but I'm still just going to be cautious and Path and then Canonist. They clearly care about land drops, though, so pathing them is bad. I'd prefer to push that, or decay it, or dismember it, or anything other than ramp them, but concessions have to be made when you're playing white. Ooh, there's a tracker. Alright. Well, unless that's an artifact, you can't cast another spell, so I guess you just wanted the clue while I'm tapped out? Oh, that's a good draw. I like that draw. So, Deputy's going to get rid of Tracker. I just need to get my value engine going. Opponent's been casting their cards that are value on their own, but I need synergy. I need multiple pieces. I should also be aware they're probably running Knight of Autumns. Might not be apparent that this is an artifact, so maybe opponent doesn't blow it up, but a 4-3 is probably more relevant on this table anyway. Displacer's not going to do much against it. Displacer doesn't really answer Knight, at least not permanently. So I do need to keep the colorless sources. I probably should have just put a Eldrazi Templar or 2 in this deck. That actually would have been smarter than in the Caverns. Yep, draw your cards, opponent. At least until we draw Narset. Alright, soon we get our Displacer engine going. One more land, we can do it twice. If we see a Spell Queller, we can just permanently counter anything 4 or less for 3 mana. Okay, so they're this combo. Great. Well, what does that even mean? I can flicker 2 things. I can flicker the Knight. The Knight's going to make it so I can attack, so that's probably going to be step 1. You can sack a land if you'd like, thin your deck a little, go get a utility land. Gavany Township looks quite good. Might have been a reason to leave up Field of Ruin here. But I pretty much need to leave Displacer up. If I'm expecting Vizier to come down, I need to make sure this is Summoning Sickness. Tech Edge. Alright. That seems like a kind of interesting choice. Do I have to leave something back? I don't think so. I have Displacer up to protect me. They technically have Coco mana. Wait, you block before Cocoing? That seems weird. Okay, that's not as weird. What do I want them to have? Tireless Tracker or... This play's making me feel like they actually have the combo ready. So I can take Devoted Druid and actually make sure I survive. That's probably the smartest play I can make. So I need to Flicker Deputy. They'll get their Tireless Tracker back, but I get their Devoted Druid. And then if they're planning on comboing, it's not going to happen. This deck is so interesting. Teferi would have been nice. Alright, well if they run out Vizier, it means I was correct. If not, that means I'm taking 9 for no reason. Potentially 11 if they crack both clues. To a fetch land. Sorry, it's thinking ahead. They play a fetch land, they get a clue, they crack it, they go get a clue, they crack both. Okay, that can make them gain 1 life right now. And they don't attack in, so they respect the fact that they're on defense now. Oh boy. So I can tap down the knight, swing in with my 2/2s, offer trades. Yeah, I think I'm the beatdown here, which isn't where I'm normally at, but I think that's me today. So this time I'm doing this first so I can actually see what land they're getting and think about what land they're getting. If they have another Tech Edge, I'd be surprised. If they have a Ghost Quarter, then yeah, I don't know what to say about a Ghost Quarter. So Bears will offer to trade. If he tries to block with Skoos, I'll just flicker it. Sorry, eat something with Skoos, I'll just flicker it. Because at the given moment, I don't care if he gains a life, but I want to make sure my creatures survive, so... Let's flicker you. That gets rid of the creature in the graveyard, so it's still going to be a 2/2. I only got 1 point of damage in that way, but it took out an opponent's out. It also means I can just tap down both of these and swing in with everything. So opponent needs to have a good draw here, otherwise I think we just win. Ewit pick up Tech Edge. Technically keeps them alive for another turn. It's also a terrible target to flicker. Yep, you get your clue. Oh, they can't activate that. Okay, so... Tap down, tap down. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Uh, tap down, swing in. They're going to have to block. They're probably going to trade off. They'll take 3 versus tap down, swing in like last time. Offer the trades on these two. Flicker whichever one I want to protect. Have lethal in the air. I'd need another land for that, though. Oh boy, this is interesting. This is really interesting. So I can also just run out my Displacer and Flicker. So they'll trade. My Resto will win the game. I think I'm just on Resto here. Resto's highest upside and puts them on a guaranteed 2-turn clock. And I can actually Field of Ruin now. There won't be any creatures in the graveyard for Scoos to take advantage of. They can float the mana and crack the clue, though. Yeah, I think it's fine. Oh, they can still crack the clue anyway. Yeah, let's see what you're doing. The leftover 1 mana shouldn't make too much of a difference here. And if it ends up hitting the fan, I can just use Displacer to flicker twice and then swing back. Oh, opponent couldn't Coco before anyway because of Lavinia. The static effects on these creatures are so hard to keep track of. He didn't even crack his clue. Okay, well, as long as they don't have trample, they still can't swing in. Resto's represented a 2-turn clock. They can potentially hit their infinite mana combo, but I have Displacer to make sure that they can't actually combo off. Yep. Yep. Field of Ruin, they hit Tech Edge. Take me off colorless. Your creatures are so much bigger than mine. Deputy of Detention can also take out the Knight of Autumn if I'm planning on swinging back for lethal. Birds of Paradise, you're no fun, opponent. That can block Resto Angel. I don't want to have to tap it down. That just feels like a waste of my time. Alright, well... Worst Resto Angel ever. Yeah, I don't need to do anything with it. Ooh, Teferi. Alright, what does Teferi mean? It means that I can bounce Birds of Paradise, hit for 3, draw a card. I'll also have mana up for Displacer. Yeah. Ride the upside. You can also bounce Knight of Autumn. That's a bigger mana sink. Whatever, I'm just going for the kill. We're so close to the kill. And another Deputy of Detention. Why can't I play it, though? Huh. That's interesting. I have the mana. Oh, double. Canonist. So many static abilities. Alright, well, Displacer will protect us for a turn. It'll tap down whatever blocker they've got. I've got Deputy of Detention as backup. I think we officially locked this one up. Opponent is a combo deck, though, so I'm not going to put it past them to win, but we do have some protection. Aethersworn Canonist also makes it very hard for them to win. Draw. All right. I actually think you would have had a shot if you took out my Field of Ruin here. Or basically any of these lands. These lands are allowing me to cast my Displacer. And long term, you want to hit the colorless ones. Although if you don't have a land to draw yourself, then that means that you won't be able to Coco. And that might be your best play here. I don't know. It's a toss-up. Definitely an interesting game, though. I'm even losing... Oh, if they don't know that they can't Coco during my turn, they have to do it main phase. Alright, Township doesn't do anything. Okay, yeah, lock that one up. So, Phyrexian Revoker unfortunately has to name a card name, so I can't name Clue there. Stony Silence is always hilarious when you bring it in versus these type of decks because it means that they can't crack their clues, which turns off like their entire value engine, so they're just playing moderate creatures for not a whole lot of value. Marian Crusader has protection from green, which means it gets unblocked fairly easily. They're bigger creatures like the Tireless Tracker and Knight of the Reliquary. Can't do anything about that. They can chump block with their white creatures, but they usually don't have too many of those. I'm more concerned about looking at cuts before I bring in either of these two fringe use cases. Basically, Meddling Mage is going to do about the same thing Stony Silence is going to do. Rest in Peace is just awful. It does shrink their Knight of the Reliquary, and if they are running Random Map Excavator, it shuts that off as well. But we can name Ghost Quarter, we can name their fetch land. We can stop most of that. Aethersworn Canoness, I actually don't think is super relevant. I'd rather have these 4 cards over that. Again, this hurts our deck as well, but they're mainly looking to Coco or Cord. They can set up over 2 turns, and then they're doing activated abilities on Duskwatch Recruiter and Walking Ballista, not necessarily trying to cast those spells. Timely Reinforcements is cute. Again, it's in here for burn. It can chump block a lot of their creatures. This buys 3 turns against the Knight of the Reliquary, but honestly, we're a lock deck. We can name cards. We can path problems. Like, we're going to be taking the control role here, and I believe that's going to be strong enough with this setup. Like, this is a Meddling Mage naming whatever combo piece they don't run out on turn 2. A Teferi to bounce something back to hand, a relevant threat. Basically, Lavinia and Teferi are both halves of a combo lock, so I like it. And mild fringe use case here. We have 3 fast lands in this deck, which means our first 3 turns can be fast lands. Yeah, that's an awkward draw. So have to do the fast lands first, then the shock lands, even though I would have entered tapped. I don't know. I guess both could be relevant. This is going to cost 2 life. This could potentially backfire if we see our other one. Cavern. Alright, well, I can Lavinia. That will buy us a turn versus Coco. I can just Meddling Mage, name Coco. I'm kind of a fan of Meddling Mage, name Coco, and then Marian Crusader, and just sit back on defense. If opponent ends up running out of Tireless Tracker, we can Stony Silence and laugh. Collected Company. No 2-for-1s for you, opponent. Teferi Bounce Knight is actually kind of cute here, too. Huh. They actually have black in their deck. I don't think we saw black last game. Yep. Grow your Knight. Wouldn't be too surprised to see a Field of Ruin here. They might not want to open themselves up to a path, but getting another land into the graveyard means we're going to hit for more damage. Oh, Deputy off the top. Nope. Alright, so I can Teferi bounce. They'll have to attack Teferi. I can Marian Crusader. They'll have to fetch land and Field of Ruin to not die. Yeah, I mean, We came here to play pseudo-human spirits taxes hybrid, and that's why we have a Crusader. So Pro Green's going to make it so that they can't attack in. Not attacking with Meddling Mage. That's not happening. Let's make that clear. Oh. Sad panda. So kind of thinking they don't have Coco in the deck, otherwise they probably would have just pathed Meddling Mage. Teferi probably would have been the better read there. They'd have to path main phase on Meddling Mage, but they wouldn't have cared. They would have just ran out Knight and held up path. Okay. I mean, it's not my colorless source, so I'm happy. Yep, I'll take my beats for 10 like a boss. Seriously, deputy off the top? That's not a deputy. Alright, so opponent's not going to counter anything, so we can go ahead and Teferi here. Stem the bleeding, we're going to bounce the Knight, take a look at what else is drawn. That's a waste, that doesn't really do a whole lot. Run out Lavinia, who's going to be on chump block duty. And opponent has path and field. Do I want to take my last basic at the cost of 40% of my life total? Yeah, I think I want the basic. Hopefully they attack Teferi. And I don't want to block with Meddling Mage, but if I attack in with Meddling Mage and they remove Lavinia, that means Meddling Mage has to chump block. Opponent's going after me. Another Knight. Okay, Deputy off the top. Yeah, there's a Duskwatch. Alright, what does this mean? So, I think I have to Teferi, bounce and draw. I can chump block for a turn, but if I top deck a Deputy, I'm fine. Shenanigans. Alright, so I can cast spells. Doesn't matter, I don't have any. And I think I have to do it this way. Run out new Teferi. We keep the new one. We're going to bounce. What else do we have? So this is going to be a moment of contemplation. I can draw I have 2 Deputy of Detentions. I have a Meddling Mage, a Canonist, a Delay, Lavinia's Legendary, a Path. So I'm on 4 paths, 2 deputies off the top, or a Resto Angel if I take the Knight, or 2 deputies if I take Duskwatch. Yeah, so that's going to be bouncy, untapped Knight. Spell Queller isn't terrible, but I'm not overly excited to see it. So I can Spell Queller it when it comes back down and block Duskwatch with it. Meddling Mage is on chump block duty. Is it worth eating the Duskwatch for Teferi? I think I need to Spell Queller the Knight when it comes back down. So, you get Teferi, sir. Well fought. Turns on your instance again. Specifically Coco with that gone. Okay, that's less than ideal. Hey, would you look at that? And unfortunately I have to cast it now. So, Deputy, take the Knight. And then I can run out Spell Queller. It's not going to do anything. I can cast the Stony Silence and hold up Spell Queller Then if I top deck a Displacer, I can just flicker Deputy and get both Knights. Yeah. Oh, no, that was a misplay. With Exalted, he's going to be attacking in for 3. Oh well. That just means that I'm going to be taking my beats for 3 here unless they hit a good Coco. Yep, that was a mistake. Devoted Druid, Ewit, Ewit pick up Path, Path get Deputy. Path Deputy now, swing in for lethal. Alright, well, we tried. Hopefully being on the play we can take this. They do have technically Ewit. I still don't think this is correct. I'm assuming they have 1 to 2 Ewits. I haven't seen any... Knight being big is relevant, though. This might be more relevant than Stony Silence. I just don't have good cards for this matchup. I need more Wrath of Gods. I need something along those lines. Supreme Verdict. We're in the right colors for it. We are creature-based, though. We have 22 creatures in our blue-white control list. Makes it so awkward. Alright, something good. Revoker on the combo, Displacer, Spell Queller. We're 1 card away from hard locking. It's fine. Already hit the 2-3 bracket. Everything past here is just academic. Oh, sorry, I just saw that. Dispel for Coco. I don't know when you said that. It might have been worth discussion, but I don't know. It's 4 cards versus 4 Knight of Autumns or Knight of the Reliquaries and 2 Ewits. This can't name a land, so the Windswept Heath is fine. Apparently, opponent's been Pithy Needled in the past. I'm going to name Devoted Druid. This isn't limited to a mana source, and if they don't have a turn 1 drop, it means that they don't have a Noble Hierarch or a Birds of Paradise. I guess the spell also hits Path to Exile, which is relevant. So that may have been correct. Hi, Devoted Druid. Alright, Teferi. I think I want to do the Teferi tempo play here and bounce it. Actually, I'm ahead on board state. I am currently Spell Quellering. Okay, activated. Yeah, so he can't activate either ability on Devoted Druid. Then I have Spell Queller up. I can Teferi the following turn. They won't be able to recast the Spell Queller. And then I can start Displacer locking. Opponent had to have known we had it. Ooh, Marrying Crusader's fun. Alright, so definitely doing this. And I think I'm just plussing. Is there any value to bouncing this Devoted Druid? It's a 0-2 with no abilities. I think I'm just plussing Teferi and prepping for the long game, because I can run out Displacer now, and then I'm 1 land away from Hardlock for the Coco deck. I mean, they might have something for 5 mana, but I'm 1 mana away from Hardlock for the Coco deck. Actually, no, because I can just Hardlock now. I'm 1 mana away from locking 2 cards out of the Coco deck. Path it! Path it! Path it! Yes! Alright, so my lock is gone, but there's a trigger on the stack. You can't do it. That made me happy. Alright, well, it took until Game 5, Match 5, but we got there. We did it. There's the rip. This is just going to name human. This is going to go get me, honestly, doesn't matter. I should have done that last turn anyway. Displacer, Marine Crusader, and you are locked out, opponent. I have removal. I have protection. You can deal with maybe 2 of these if you play it absolutely correctly. Okay, that's fair. You get that. Do you have another one? Did you actually get all 3 knights? Oh no, I bounced the one. Yeah, you do have one in hand. I knew that. I knew that, guys. Okay, well that's slightly awkward. Yep, there's that. I'm just going to path now because I don't care. Yep, the required block. You go down to 1. The biggest card that gets you back into this is Collected Company. So naming Collected Company. You have to do it during your main phase, but who really cares? And then Rip means that Ewit is off the table, as well as Knight is a 2-2. You have to put out 3 blockers, one of which is white. And can't be bounced by Teferi. I think we got there. Yep, there it is. Alright, so, first things first, let's go ahead and open this treasure chest. I'm trying to get a little bit better at opening these when we actually get them. 5 play points, an Archfiend that doesn't do anything, and I don't even know what card that is. Can I? Oh, it's this one. Sacrifice a creature. Return up to X cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors that creature was. Oh, that's kind of interesting with the new Niv Mizzet. And then other spells you control can't be countered this turn. Well, deck. Time Cop! Yeah, it didn't really live up to that name all that often. We only pulled it off twice. So, Delay is fun and cute, and I enjoyed casting it. Delay with Methylene Mage was awesome. Getting that Blood Moon against Affinity Game 1 was just the best. We would have gotten blown out Game 1 had I not done that. Delay with Lavinia is a hard counter. Delay with Teferi is a hard counter. Delay with Spell Queller doesn't really do anything, but whatever, they're all synergistic. I don't know where I was going when I first started that, but they don't do much together. So, Spell Queller, Teferi, and Lavinia. This is a very strong combo, but it requires you to have Spell Queller, which we didn't see every game. Restoration Angel and Displacer are cute, but kind of mana intensive. I'm not a huge fan of that. Aethersworn Canonist worked with our stacks plan, and I was trying to pull some pieces out of taxes, so I figured that might be an okay home. If we ended up delaying something, or we ended up like Spell Quelling it back and getting a counter spell, seemed cute, but I mean, cute's not necessarily good. Delay with Meddling Mage was awesome. Path to Exile is pretty good support. I know I did Teferi lock with red, and I said I probably need to make it white-blue, but it felt like I needed something else in the 1-drop slot. It originally started off with Aether Vial, but if I go to the screen cap, we have 22 creatures and 15 other. Excuse me, had to cough. So, Aether Vial actually became Rip. We did see Power of Rip Game 1. It's sad that this is where we're currently at, is Rip Game 1. But, whatever. Lavinia has been so weird. It's good when it's good. People tried jamming her in Humans because she's a human and is kind of a pseudo-hate piece. But you have to build a deck around her. In all the lock decks, she's been fantastic. If you can set your opponent up for this cast a spell if no mana was cast, counter it with Spell Queller or Delay. She's great, but she's also a bear. She's a 2/2. She dies to the first half of Fatal Push. She dies to Lightning Bolt. Being able to protect her with Displacer and Resto seemed cute, but if we're protecting her with Flicker, we've already won. So I'm not sure where to end up in this. She kind of fell in the same spot when we did Teferi Lock. It just didn't seem like she covered enough ground, but she's a very powerful creature. I'm going to be playing with her in the future. She's going to have a home outside of Vintage, and I just don't know where that's at yet. Canonist, also exact same problems, but we were trying to take an approach similar to Humans and Spirits, where you have to deal with every threat, because every threat is capable of winning the game, or every threat is keeping you locked down in some way. And every single one of these is a must answer. We have 20 must answer creatures in this deck, which is just amazing. And two that protect the must answer creatures. Narset has just been a powerhouse. The lock pieces that came out of War have been astounding. Teferi has been a riot all of his own. I have 4 of him, and I'm trying to figure out how many to get rid of now that I'm done with the Teferi lock decks, and I don't know if it's all of them. It might just be 2. It might actually be keep all 4, because he is doing some very powerful things and is still relevant even when he's not shutting off counter magic. Kind of coming back though, need more 1-drops. Thraben Inspectors. I tried Wall of Omens when I was back on the Aether Vial build. Drawing a single card didn't seem good enough, but we did need some card advantage in the middle. This deck doesn't grind nearly as well as I'd hope it would. Yeah, you just lean on the back of Spell Queller, preferably a way to find Spell Queller. Maybe one of the Transmute cards. I think there's a blue Transmute artifact guy. Transmute, go get Spell Quellers. I mean, this is already a mana-intensive deck. I don't like how full our 3-drop slot is. The 2-drop slot is fine. It might be a little heavy, but the 1-drop being 4 cards is horrible. And Colonnades didn't really make up for it. Like, none of the manlands would have. We needed more colorless sources, but we basically told opponents that they had to play off tempo, and then we had to actually deal with it when it came off of tempo. This was a great deck for saying, let's go longer. Delay was fantastic. I might be playing with Delay and Meddling Mage in the future, because that was so much fun. But so many lines. It was really thought intensive. I felt like I was describing my lines and trying to imagine paths for opponent to take and for me to take well down the line, and then I was just forgetting about something as static as the Aethersworn Canonist. Like, there's a lot going on. I could see this deck being fun to play long term, great to take to an FNM. You can potentially build up to blue-white control if that's somewhere you're trying to go to. You could also be in Spirits, Humans. If you end up getting the mana base for it, like, you can play a lot of those style decks, and they're definitely my favorite colors. I don't think I'd necessarily promote this, but maybe builds of it. Like, I know Reddit Modern Magic on 5.6 was somebody saying that they went to their first Grand Prix and they got 9th with it, but they only missed 8th by tiebreakers using Teferi Lock. There's a home here. There are some great cards. It does modern power level things. I don't think I can sell this any more than that. Like, it shouldn't be your primary deck, but it's definitely got some long-term playability to it. And I think that's everything I've got to say. Well, thanks for watching. Have a good one.